All right, not all I's dotted, not all T's crossed, but Credit Suisse will be the latest international bank to pay some hefty fines to the United States, upwards of $2.5 billion worth. And this time the charge is tax evasion, or all too easily helping clients avoid taxes. Forget about where that money goes. I wanted to check in with Gold Coast Bank CEO Joe Perri on where it doesn't go. And I'm going to bring my panelists in with me as well. But, Joe, leaving aside the fact that the bank just probably wanted to be done with this, rid of this, but it's just the latest bank to pay these multi-billion-dollar fines to settle old issues, I guess, with the United States government. To what end?
This is so upsetting. You know, I can't believe it. I open the paper up every day. We're not talking about millions of dollars here. We're talking about billions.
It always starts at $1 billion.
And it's getting higher and higher. It's upwards over a total, something like $100 billion.
Well, without getting into particulars of this case, this, we're told, was a little bit more egregious because the bank flagrantly helped people avoid and hide from taxes.
Yeah, but look at all the other penalties that were imposed against all the other banks. They're forcing the banks to hire more people, hire more attorneys. I don't know
so
where.
You think that's where a lot of their go, where they want to get their act together.
Absolutely.
It's like don't charge somebody with murder because you're forcing them to hire attorneys and spend more money. How about we put them in jail and not charge them fines?
How about
Anybody
we put the government that acquiesced to this sort of behavior when the times were good?
Come on, guys. You know, the argument you're making, Joe, is let them off the hook because it's expensive.
No, I'm not saying let them off the hook.
Well, what do you do?
I'm saying the government thinks that if they can charge billions of dollars, that's going to deter everything that's going on.
This seems to be like a cycle. I know they weren't rescued or any of this, but Gaspar, where does this money go?
Okay. Here's what it goes to the federal, it goes to the U.S. Treasury theoretically. But here's what's kind of interesting.
But not to making investors whole.
No, I mean, no, the investors aren't. There wasn't an investor ripoff. This was a tax evasion case. But here's the sort of interesting thing, and this is the problem that the federal government has. They clearly missed the financial crisis. They didn't catch anybody. You read Tim Geithner's book. Totally clueless as New York Fed chairman, New York Fed president, as Treasury Secretary. They let these guys get away with relative murder, and now what you get the feeling is they're playing catch-up. So they're hammering all these banks, J.P. Morgan, Credit Suisse, as much as they can.
But are any of these guys going to do a perp walk?
No, and here's the scary thing.
You
know, here's how absurd this is. When you read some of this stuff, particularly Geithner's book, which I've read, it seems like they had a case against Lehman Brothers. Lehman Brothers cooked its books. It said essentially that its assets were valued at X, and they found out it was valued at
one firm they let go.
And they let them go. Right. And now we're paying. Now all these other guys are paying for it.
Well, you know who's really paying for it? Who? The stockholders the customers are definitely going to pay for it.
But, Jessie, the argument for all of this from the beginning was banks, you went too far. Now, I can remember back, no offense to Mr. Ungar, during the Clinton days when there was the Community Reinvestment Act, and the idea was, hey, you got to do something to spur lending and get more people in homes, and it went from a goal to damn near a birthright, so the banks were incentivized to go ahead and lend, baby, lend. Now, I am not forgiving them, but you give an institution the power and the privilege to go ahead and go chase this business. Don't be surprised if they try to collateralize it, as the banks did. So they went too far. When everything melted down, then the same Washington was on there, you know what, saying, hey, you're not lending enough, you got to lend more. They couldn't win for love or money.
Yeah, the Community Revitalization Act that passed under Jimmy Carter essentially caused the turmoil that we're all seeing now with all of the housing loans that went to subprime loans. And all of that trickled down. I mean, look at all the regulations that are now on credit cards. So essentially, people think that they're being looked out for by the government when they put these regulations in place. But
all I know is it goes to extremes. And, Joe, to your point, man, I'm not saying that you are a saint, by the way, but a lot of your colleagues are not. I'm just saying. But my point is, then it wouldn't surprise me that if you have to lend in an environment where politicians are banging on your head, you will try to come up with creative ways to absorb the losses or the potential risk. Now, when everything goes full circle and bankers were really getting reamed for overdoing it, now they're reamed for not doing enough.
Absolutely. The government can't have it both ways. And they're trying to get it both ways. And what starts to worry me about all these billion-dollar penalties is, from what I read, it looks like in the government, the higher the penalty you can obtain, the greater the badge of honor.
But that's always been the case. I think here's what scares me about these settlements and these fines. What's going on? I'm pretty sure Credit Suisse did some of this stuff. They did some bad stuff.
Absolutely.
They obviously did, right? Okay. The question is, did the punishment fit the crime? Is the federal government, is Perri, the U.S. attorney for the Manhattan U.S. attorney, who's one of the top law enforcement officials, the SEC, are they playing catch up so much that they're hammering these guys for every single thing and hammering them more than they deserve?
But there does seem to be new standards, right? You and I can remember the time $1 billion was a big deal. Now that's the starting.
But are they trying to play catch up? I am telling you that they missed the financial crisis.
But
they
it's
had
not
people.
too-
They
But it's a way to avoid jail then.
Wait, the statute of limitations has not run on
5
the
years?
crimes.
5 years?
Yeah. So we can.
Whoa.
What?
5 years.
How many years has it been?
5 years.
So there, no, and some of these crimes.
Well, 7 in the case of living together
Well,
before
can
you
we
make
not
it
forget
citizenship.
something?
It's discovery.
Yeah, but guys, wait a minute.
So jail is still
I'm
a
living this
possibility.
day to day
Let's-
in the trenches here, and I run a small bank, and
It's not small.
not that small.
Okay.
But you take a look at what they're doing to the large banks. It's gonna come home and hurt the customer.
Can it benefit the smaller
They can't.
banks?
I was gonna say, it doesn't benefit them?
Good for
No,
you.
not at all. Because
What's to stop a bank or his saying
Well,
to hell with it?
the reason
Why
why
should it be
the
bothered?
reason why
to
is-
happen is they're causing all the other banks, the second-tier banks like mine. We have to
Okay.
hire more people. We have to
Do you
try
have to
to
comply with
protect
Dodd? Do you have to
ourselves.
comply with Dodd?
Absolutely.
Well, then that's
All right.
it.
Guys, I wish we had more time. It's a hot issue, and I guess you do know something about banks. When we come back.